you have to go and see a doctor because there's pain in your stomach. And he examines you a little bit, he palpitates the area and suggests an ointment that you can rub on in order to relieve the pain. That doesn't accomplish anything, so you're back a few days later, the pain is getting worse, and he says, well, I'll give you some stronger painkillers that you can take orally, and hopefully that'll take the edge off. A little while later, you're still in some pain, you go back, and he says, I want you to try some different thinking techniques now, see if we can just take your mind off this problem. And when that still doesn't work, and now there's evidence of internal bleeding and the pain is really gripping your body, you go back, and this time he says, look, why don't you just go out and enjoy yourself and see if you can forget about some of these things. Well, that's the point at which you might be saying, what kind of doctor are you, and what kind of treatments are these? Because you're just scratching the surface. You're trying to handle the symptoms rather than cure the disease. You've made no penetrating survey of my symptoms properly. You haven't traced the root of the problem, and you're not actually healing me to that degree that I need. And now my symptoms are getting worse, my pain is increasing, and the problem is perhaps beyond control. Tragically, many spiritual doctors, many physicians of the soul, so-called, do the same thing. That is all that some religion offers, and tragically, even some religion that goes under the name of Christianity. It is like what was happening in the days of Jeremiah, when there were prophets and priests who dealt falsely. In chapter 6 and verse 14, Jeremiah says, they have also healed the hurt of my people slightly, saying, peace, peace, where there is no peace. The preachers, the prophets, the priests, those who were supposed to be giving instruction and guidance from God, were not dealing faithfully with the people. They were afflicted. They were troubled. God's warnings were hanging over them. They had committed sin. And these prophets and priests who spoke falsely weren't dealing with anything more than the symptoms. They were healing the hurts of the people slightly. They were assuring them of peace when there was no peace. In Jeremiah's day, that may refer to the threat of judgment and exile from the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, and these people were saying, don't worry about it. God's not going to do that. Everything's going to be fine. Just get on with things. Try and think about other problems. Or, well, it's not really sin that we're dealing with here. Let's tidy up around the edges. Let's rub on a little bit of ointment. Let's take a painkiller. Let's try and think about other things. And today we have exactly the same problem. Sin is dismissed, explained away, excused. We don't want to face it. We don't want to deal with it. We don't want to hear about it. We're told to think about something different perhaps. There's no real recognition of the holiness of a majestic God, of the sinfulness of sin against him, of the depths of human iniquity, of the transgressions that reveal the rebellion in our hearts against God. There's no putting the finger on the worldliness of the Church of Jesus Christ, calling men and women to repent of their sins and come back to God. And while that happens, there is only a slight healing of our hurts, and there's a declaration of peace when there is no peace. Let me read to you a few words from Samuel Pearce, who was an 18th century minister of the gospel, who was known for his earnest and sincere concern for souls. Give me the preacher, said Pearce, who opens the folds of my heart, who accuses me, convicts me, and condemns me before God, who loves my soul too well to suffer me to go on in sin, unreproved through fear of giving me offence, who draws the line with accuracy between the delusions of fancy and the impressions of grace, who pursues me from one hiding place to another until I am driven from every refuge of lies, who gives me no rest until he sees me with unfeigned penitence, trembling at the feet of Jesus, and then, and not till then, soothes my anguish, wipes away my tears, and comforts me with the cordials of grace. My friends, we need preachers and teachers who do not heal our hurts lightly, who do not tell us that there's peace when there is none, but who dig down to the depths of our need and will not let us go until we close with Jesus Christ.